The second leg of the stool of trauma, and there are three legs, remember, one is avoidance, one is intrusive imagery, and one is hyperarousal. So the second leg of the stool is intrusive imagery. Now, let me offer you this little kind of exercise, right? I say this to everybody who says they've had a traumatic experience. Now, we've established that memories are supposed to fade with time. So if you have memories which are not fading as memories are supposed to fade with time, then this is what we're talking about, okay? It's having a memory that has not faded as it would normally do. So, bring up the worst bit of whatever experience it is that you have, and just bring it up to your mind, bring it up onto the screen of your consciousness. You know, if you're not familiar with this notion, the screen of your consciousness, you've basically got a TV screen in your head, and that's where you see things. So if I was to say to you, what colour is your front door? You go, it's brown. How do you know? Because you just looked at it on the screen of your consciousness. So bring up the worst bit of your experience. Now the question is this, right? How close to you does it seem? Now, I go like this, right? How close to you does it seem? How close to you does it seem? And if it's traumatic, invariably, it's like here, and that feels like it happened yesterday, or it's just happening. It's here, and that might feel like a week or a month, or it's here, feels like a couple of months. It's really interesting that I use, and I think I developed this because I'm not sure anybody else has ever talked about this. I use visual perspective as a measure of how long ago something happened. Now, years ago, I was teaching a course on trauma at, I think, UCL in London. And we were right on the top floor, and we could look out over London. And I used to say to people, okay, come to the window, everybody come to the window. And I'd say, now, can you remember your first holiday? And so people go, yeah, where's your first holiday? I remember my first holiday. Okay, where is it? And you could look over London and say, it's over there by St. Paul's. Okay. Now, think about a traumatic experience or something that's unpleasant. Where is it? Oh, it's just down there by the car park. So, visual perspective is a good measure of how distressing and intrusive something is likely to be in your memory. And we've said that PTSD and trauma, etc., are experiences of memory. So, bring up the worst bit of it, do this exercise, how close is it to you? Let us know how close it is. The second thing is, how distressing is it? Something which is close has more emotional intensity. Something which is far away has less emotional intensity. If it's close, it's going to have more. If it's far away, it's going to have less. And so what we need to think about is, if it's close, how upsetting is it? Now, we use a thing called subjective units of distress, SUDs, SUDs, right? 0, it's not at all distressing. 10 is as bad as it could be. So what we're interested in is, how close is it to you in, let's imperial, in inches, right? Not millimeter. How close is it to you in inches, and how distressing is it in SUDs? 0, it's not at all distressing. 10 is as bad as it could be, okay? So, intrusive imagery can be measured, but it can also be dealt with. And if you do this exercise, because remember, the whole thing about this is we're breaking stuff down into little bits. The whole thing about this is that we can break this down, and now we know what a bit of the problem is, if it applies to you, that your images, your memory is representing something as being very present, close, and it needs to represent it as it being far away. So now we're starting to have an opportunity to do something useful with it. Okay, so how close is it, and how distressing is it? Post it and let us know how you're getting on.